Stop for a moment. Hold your breath. Don't move. Listen carefully. Something is happening to you right now, in this exact second, in a place deeper than your thoughts and louder than your heartbeat. Even though no one around you can see it, it feels like the atmosphere around your spirit just shifted, like the air tightened, like a whisper rose from nowhere and wrapped itself around your name. You can sense it, like a hand reaching toward you from a realm you don't fully understand, like a warning wrapped in love, like a pull you can't explain. The unseen world has leaned closer to you, and heaven is watching the direction of your next step, as if it is the moment that defines an entire lifetime. There is a tug in your soul, a pressure in your chest, a trembling inside your spirit that refuses to be ignored. And even though you cannot see the map, you know you're standing on the edge of something holy, something dangerous, something life-altering. Right now, there is a voice rising through the noise of your fears, cutting through confusion, breaking through the illusion that everything is ordinary. You are standing at a crossroads that few ever recognize, and the fate of what comes next is tied to a decision you didn't realize you were already making. Your spirit can sense that something sacred is being revealed, something that demands your attention, something that refuses to let you drift any further without truth colliding with you like a sudden storm. In this moment, before anything moves forward, you must do something crucial for your destiny. Write your warmest wishes in the comments and seal them with 777 as a spiritual activation, as a sign that you are choosing alignment instead of avoidance, connection instead of escape, fullness instead of fear. Let your own words become a declaration that you are no longer turning away from what was meant for you, that you are refusing to let hesitation rob you of what was prepared in silence for your future. After you write them, like this video, and subscribe with conviction, as a command over your spirit, as an act of agreement, as a bold step that says you are ready to stop walking in the wrong direction and return to the path that was designed for your blessing. Do it now. Don't hesitate. Take action. From this point on, the journey you are entering is not a journey of the mind, but of the soul. There are layers inside you that have been dormant for years, like sealed archives, like ancient memories buried beneath fear and disappointment, like Eden-coded blueprints waiting to be awakened. Your life has been moving on two parallel timelines, the one you're living and the one heaven intended for you. And somewhere along the way, the two began to separate, leaving you feeling misplaced, disconnected, aching for something you couldn't name. This spiritual ache is not weakness. It is the alarm of destiny, alerting you that your steps have drifted away from a blessing that was meant to collide with your life like a divine earthquake. You were never meant to live numb, small, or unfinished. There is a design pulsing inside your DNA, a frequency alignment woven into your cells before your birth, a divine rewiring that has been waiting for the exact moment when your spirit would wake up from the sleep of survival and remember who you were always meant to become. Heaven does not shout, it whispers, and only awakened spirits recognize the sound. That is why you have felt restless, why certain doors closed violently, why peace turned into pressure, why relationships that once felt safe suddenly felt wrong. The unseen realm has been redirecting you, not punishing you. Every discomfort was a map. Every disappointment was a signal. Every unanswered prayer was a boundary designed to stop you from walking further into a life that did not belong to you. The path you were following was leading you away from the abundance that was prepared for your name, long before you breathed your first breath. There are angels assigned to your life, silent watchers, hidden guardians, who have been tracking your direction like celestial sentinels. They have watched as every step you took carried you inches away from the blessing crafted for your future. And the closer you got to missing it entirely, the louder the spiritual pressure became. That pressure was not anxiety. It was intervention. In the unseen realm, angels began performing surgery on the trajectory of your destiny, cutting away paths that looked appealing but were lethal to your purpose. You felt it as loss, but heaven recorded it as rescue. There are times when God protects you by giving, and there are times when God protects you by taking. You thought something was stolen from you, when in reality, something was being shielded. The blessing meant for you was too precise, too tailored, too spiritually calibrated to be placed into a future you were unknowingly walking away from. And so the invisible world began pulling you back through disruption, through discomfort, through the unraveling of plans you once trusted. That unraveling was divine surgery. The dismantling was deliverance. Just as it was spoken to the prophets, transformation often begins where comfort ends, and your comfort was leading you into shadows that would have silenced your calling. There is a version of you that heaven recognizes, a radiant, unleashed, fully awakened being whose spiritual anatomy carries codes of boldness, vision, and authority. But that version could not emerge on the path you were taking. Your destiny requires alignment, not drift. It requires obedience, not avoidance. It requires turning toward what scares you instead of running from what calls you. Your spirit remembers what your mind cannot. The blueprint of where you were meant to stand, the appointment that carries your name, the blessing that is not random but engineered specifically for your future. Within your cellular structure lies an Eden memory awakening, an ancient knowing that pulls you toward purpose like gravity pulls oceans toward the moon. That pull is rising in you right now. You can feel it as a tightening in your soul, as a trembling in your spirit, as a sudden clarity that feels both terrifying and magnetic. You are being summoned back to alignment, back to intention, back to the blessing that was assigned to your timeline before the beginning of time. The spiritual realm has opened a corridor, a narrow path, a recalibration window, and you have stepped into it at the exact second you are hearing these words. Hidden enemies have surrounded your journey, not with weapons, but with distractions. The greatest danger to your destiny was never an attack. It was misdirection. Darkness doesn't always push you backward. Sometimes it subtly nudges you sideways, one tiny step at a time, until you are miles away from the life that was meant to flourish. The enemy does not fear your struggle. It fears your alignment. Because once you step back into the direction of your blessing, everything connected to your purpose begins to wake up. Angels mobilize, doors unlock, resources gather, favor accelerates. Your destiny begins to reconstruct itself like cellular regeneration, like a spiritual body knitting itself back together. The moment you turn toward what was meant for you, heaven began to synchronize your timeline, pulling opportunities into your path, restoring what was delayed, reigniting what was dormant. The unseen world has been waiting for your decision, because destiny does not force, it invites. And right now, that invitation is burning in your spirit like fire. There are testimonies written in heaven about people who reached this same crossroads, people who were seconds away from abandoning the path that held their breakthrough, people who walked through darkness believing they were forgotten, people who almost surrendered to despair, only to discover that the moment they turned back toward their true calling, their entire life transformed in ways that defied logic. One was a woman whose life had collapsed, whose plans dissolved, who believed she was cursed by loss. But when she returned to the place she once avoided, the calling she had abandoned, her spirit ignited, and within months her life blossomed in ways she could never have built alone. Another was a man who chased comfort until it destroyed him, who ran from purpose because purpose felt heavy. But when he realigned with what heaven intended, doors opened that had been sealed for decades, and blessings poured into his life with supernatural acceleration. These stories were not coincidences. They were the result of a single shift, turning back toward the blessing instead of walking away from it. Right now, something inside you is being rewired. Divine reconstruction is happening beneath the surface of your emotions, inside the architecture of your soul. Your spiritual DNA is being recalibrated, calling you back into alignment with the life that was meant for you. You may feel pressure, confusion, or even fear, but those sensations are signals that your old identity is dissolving and a new one is rising. Heaven is pulling you back toward a blessing that still belongs to you, a blessing that has not expired, a blessing that has been waiting for your return. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are being redirected. And the shift begins now. Don't look away. The scene around your spirit is changing like a storm forming out of clear skies, like a soundtrack swelling before the reveal, like the moment in a movie when the camera zooms in because something critical is about to happen. You can almost feel the spotlight of heaven turning toward you, illuminating the path you were blind to, exposing the shadows that were pulling you further from what was meant to elevate you. Your heartbeat recognizes this moment, even if your mind doesn't, because destiny speaks in vibrations before it speaks in words. The atmosphere around your soul feels heavier, charged, thick with a presence that refuses to be ignored, a presence that feels like both confrontation and rescue. You are standing in a spiritual threshold, and every second you linger here is shifting the course of unseen events that were already in motion. You can sense that something has been tracking your steps, following your choices, calculating the distance between you and the life that was designed for your flourishing. And now that distance feels like a warning siren echoing through your chest. This is not fear, it is revelation. Something is being veiled, something you were never supposed to miss, something that has been waiting for you to stop running long enough to hear the truth that has been chasing you. Your journey up to this point has been layered with clues, moments that didn't make sense, doors that shut without explanation, relationships that collapsed in silence, blessings that felt delayed, prayers that seemed unanswered. What you called bad luck was often divine interception. What you labeled rejection was actually protection. Every time you felt abandoned, heaven was pulling you away from a counterfeit path that would have drained your spirit and suffocated your purpose. You thought you were losing, but in reality, you were being preserved. The blessing designed for you carries a frequency so pure, so specific, that it cannot exist in a life built on misalignment. That is why the wrong connections shattered. That is why the wrong opportunities slipped away. That is why peace dissolved in places that once felt safe. The direction you were taking was leading you into spiritual starvation, into a future where your gifts would rot in silence, where your calling would be buried beneath routine. And so, in the unseen realm, angels initiated a course correction, subtle at first, then louder, then forceful, because destiny does not sit quietly while you drift into a life that kills who you were born to be. They saw you stepping away, not from a random opportunity, but from a divine appointment, and they moved to stop the drift before it stole everything heaven intended. There is a spiritual law written into the architecture of your being. Blessings are location sensitive, not physical locations, but alignment locations, states of obedience, clarity, surrender, courage. The blessing prepared for you exists at a specific point in your timeline, and every step you take either moves you closer to it or further from it. Recently, your soul has been walking in the opposite direction, guided by fear, exhaustion, disappointment, and the illusion that nothing was going to change. But destiny is not powered by feelings. It is powered by design. And the design inside you has begun to activate, like a sleeping code waking up, like a frequency recalibrating, like a compass snapping back to true north. You may not have noticed it, but your desires have been shifting. Your spirit has been restless. Your heart has been yearning for something undefined, something deeper, something real. That yearning is not longing. It is a summons. It is heaven calling you back toward the blessing that matches your identity, the blessing that carries your name, the blessing that refuses to die just because you walked in the wrong direction. In the unseen realm, something has reopened, a doorway, a timeline, a divine window, and it is pulling you back toward what was once slipping away. You are in a moment of spiritual biology, your inner being undergoing cellular reconstruction, divine rewiring, and Eden memory awakening. Parts of your soul that have been numb for years are beginning to tingle with life again. Gifts you abandoned are stirring beneath the surface, like embers reigniting after a long night of ashes. Heaven is reconstructing your spiritual anatomy, reminding your DNA of the destiny it was coded for, peeling away the layers of fear and disappointment that made you believe you had nothing left to return to. The truth is, you have more waiting for you than you ever realized. Your blessing was never deleted. It was preserved. It was suspended in time, waiting for the moment when your spirit would be ready to turn back toward it. That moment is now. Your soul can feel the pull. Your purpose can feel the call. You are being summoned back into alignment with the life that was meant to multiply you. There are forces that have tried to keep you drifting, voices that told you to give up, wounds that convinced you to stop caring, distractions designed to drain your focus, people who benefited from your distance from destiny. These forces did not need to destroy you. They only needed to keep you moving just slightly away from the life heaven intended. But the drift ends here. Something unseen has stepped into your path, stopping the momentum of misdirection, placing a divine weight on your soul that refuses to let you wander any further. That heaviness you feel is not despair. It is heaven gripping your spirit, turning you around, calling you back. You are being rerouted, recalibrated, reclaimed. The blessing still stands. The appointment is still active. The promise is still alive. And your return has already begun, even if your feet haven't moved yet. Don't blink. This moment is unfolding like the final turning point in a story where everything that once seemed random suddenly reveals its purpose. You can feel it, like a scene where the music drops, the world goes silent, and a single truth stands center stage, waiting to be faced. The air around your spirit feels charged, almost electric, as if a veil is being pulled back, and the hidden architecture of your life is being exposed. There is a sense that something colossal is shifting behind the curtain of the natural world, something that has been following your steps, waiting for the exact second your spirit would be ready to hear what your mind was never prepared to understand. You are standing in a sacred pause, a divine stillness before the movement, like a heartbeat before a breakthrough, like the last breath before a door bursts open. This is the moment where everything turns, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because truth finally becomes unavoidable. Deep within your spirit, there is a map, an ancient blueprint encoded into your spiritual DNA. A design that has been whispering to you for years in the form of intuition, longing, restlessness, and aching hope. That blueprint was never erased just because you drifted. It remained alive, pulsing beneath the surface of your choices, waiting for the moment you would stop running long enough to feel its pull again. You may think you've strayed too far, that too much time has passed, that the window of purpose has closed. But destiny is not fragile, and what belongs to you cannot be stolen by delay. The blessing that was crafted for your name is not sitting in the past. It is anchored in your future, waiting for your return. Even the steps that took you away from it have now become the evidence that you were meant to rediscover it with clarity, maturity, and power. The pain that once felt meaningless is now becoming direction. The confusion that once felt heavy is now becoming revelation. The silence that once felt lonely is now becoming instruction. Heaven didn't abandon you. Heaven was waiting for you to turn around. There is a phenomenon unfolding inside you, a supernatural biology where your inner being is undergoing divine reconstruction. The old patterns that once guided your decisions are being dismantled. The old fears that once dictated your direction are dissolving. The old wounds that once blinded your vision are losing their power. Angels in the unseen realm have begun a spiritual operation, cutting away the residue of misalignment, rewiring the circuitry of your identity, and stitching together the fragments of your soul with threads of purpose. It may feel uncomfortable. It may feel emotional. It may feel like your heart is being stretched wider than it has ever been. But this stretching is not breaking. It is expansion. You are growing back into the shape of the person you were always meant to be, the person heaven recognizes, the person destiny designed. Your cells are remembering what your spirit never forgot. Your soul is awakening to the path it walked away from. You are being drawn back, not by force, but by recognition. There is a reason the wrong places lost their peace. There is a reason the wrong people fell away. There is a reason the wrong dreams crumbled in your hands. What was never meant to hold your blessing could never survive your return. You were being extracted from atmospheres that would have suffocated your calling, relationships that would have sabotaged your anointing, and opportunities that would have minimized your greatness. Sometimes protection looks like loss. Sometimes mercy looks like collapse. Sometimes love looks like doors slamming shut so violently that you have no choice but to turn in a new direction. Every ending you mourned was a beginning you couldn't yet see. Every detour you resented was a rescue you didn't recognize. Just as it was written to those who walked before you, destiny often appears first as disruption and only later as deliverance. The disruption you survived was the turning of your path, the pulling of your soul back toward what was meant to multiply you. In the spiritual realm, something extraordinary is unfolding. Timelines are shifting. Opportunities are reorganizing themselves. Doors that were once sealed are beginning to unlock with the sound of alignment. Heaven has reopened the corridor that leads to the life you were designed to live, and every step you take in the right direction will activate resources, favor, connections, and breakthroughs that were frozen until now. You are not stepping into a repeat of your past. You are stepping into a destiny that has been preserved untouched. What was waiting for you did not move forward without you. It waited. It held its breath. It stood still in divine patience, knowing that the moment you turned back toward purpose, the blessing would surge into motion with supernatural acceleration. You may feel behind, but heaven records you as right on time. You may feel unworthy, but destiny calls you chosen. You may feel uncertain, but your spirit knows exactly where it's going. There will come a moment, sooner than you think, when you look back and realize that this was the turning point. Not the moment you reached the blessing, but the moment you chose the direction of it. The moment you stopped drifting. The moment you stopped running. The moment you stopped settling for a life that kept you small. The moment your soul remembered what it was created for. What comes next is not random. It is restoration. It is realignment. It is resurrection. The dreams that died will breathe again. The gifts that faded will reignite. The confidence that shattered will be rebuilt with unshakable foundations. The life you thought was gone will rise from the ashes stronger, clearer, and more powerful than anything you imagined. Not because fate is kind, but because destiny is precise. Not because you earned it, but because it was yours all along. What you are returning to is not a leftover. It is a masterpiece waiting for its moment of unveiling. And when the blessing arrives, and it will, you will understand why the path had to break before it could be rebuilt. You will understand why heaven intervened when you didn't want it to. You will understand why alignment mattered more than speed. Why direction mattered more than momentum. Why destiny mattered more than comfort. You will stand in a future that feels too perfect to be coincidence, too purposeful to be luck, too aligned to be anything but divine. And in that moment, you will know that turning back was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of the life you were born to live. Your spirit has already begun the return. Your destiny has already responded. The blessing is already moving toward you with unstoppable force, and heaven has already recorded this moment as the shift that changed everything.